the first thought is that it's in the cities. So the cities are always crowded vicinities where the people live at very high densities. They build structures, they build buildings, roads, bridges, and a lot of other infrastructure, which we normally call as gray structure. We will detail it in coming slides. And the land surface that is mostly built or with some sort of ornamentation. No open land like in the natural system or in the rural areas. We don't have much open lands in urban system. If we have a look in detail, what sort of properties that urban ecosystems they have in the atmospheric reels, there are the climate, the wind events, the urban heat islands. We got precipitation, that the season that changes. There are certain influences due to the special topographic elements, like if the cities they are situated alongside some ocean or river, then the microclimate or the oronography that goes change. The second most interesting thing that is what beneath the surface, because definitely we are building, we are putting some asphalt, we are putting gray structure on top of, but on top of what? We are doing it all on some sort of soil media. And what is the characters of that, or the physiographic characters of that area, which is built as a city? These are some sort of elevation aspects. You can say that what are the features or topographical features or land features, then the slope positions, the soil profiling, especially how it leads for the water percolation, infiltration, the contaminants, and definitely with different environments and different regions, different areas, there will be possibilities of some drought regimes, hydrological regimes, or flooding zones. So all of these things, they come under physiographic properties. And the top, there are some things which are in between soil and atmosphere. These are all the land cover properties. What we are putting on that surface, that is all land cover. Initially, you can see that there may be a lot of trees or native vegetation or landscape or urban forest, but on top of that, there will be some built patterns, there will be structures, there will be skyscrapers, there will be a lot of invasive species and different sort of human intervention. Not only or we are building something artificially, it means that we are developing the new ecological zones. And definitely these ecological zones will be having different properties than the natural ones, and different sort of biomass, different sort of biodiversity, and different type of pollutions and their sources. And along with that, there is a very important fabric with that. That is the social pattern. The social pattern of a city defines its progress. That the central, in some cities, you may see that even in Pakistan, you can easily observe the changing patterns in the social environments. Like you have more populated and business-oriented cycles. While you are going outside towards the city skirts, the social patterns, they are changing from societal living then towards the farmhouses or peri-urban regime. And the patterns with the land cover properties, they change with that change. So if we, in depth, if we are dealing with habitat or ecosystem which is more centered towards the central areas, that will be complex in sense of its artificial. And as we will be moving outwards towards the city skirts or to the suburbs, then the pattern will be less complex because there will be less human intervention as we are going to outside of our economic zone or the city central. So these things, they basically define the urban ecology, how it is going to be and how it will behave. Because the city center, it will be have different pollution sources, it will be having different interceptions, it will be having different hydrology and soil features, and they will ultimately take you to the next decisions and the changing pattern. Now, there are two things. One that is artificial or man-made, and the second that is green. But we put a lot of green in our vicinity. That's human nature. It's a long talked, you can say, a well-established link that human and nature, they cannot be separated from each other. And the whatever the circumstances, whatever the environment is, people like to develop some sort of affiliation with the green structure. And the foremost, that is the plants, when we talk about the green structure. So when we compare a green versus gray, then in the cities, there is an interconnected network of green spaces and other environmental assets like waterways or your water stumps and urban forests, or some small corridors which link different habitats to each other. And a lot of things, they are going to build a natural, or they can function as a natural ecosystem. But definitely, they are associated, they are designed according to the need of that particular area. In our, if you look up a picture on top, if my cursor is visible in the video, then this is a, a sort of parking area alongside a building, which is covered with green and some ground vegetation. So that's how we can ameliorate, or how we can integrate some gray and green together. What are other possible gray structures other than the buildings? We have roadways and a lot of paved surfaces alongside the roads. We put lines, and then that is another, you can say, fabric, the gray fabric in your urban ecosystem. And treatment facilities, water pumping stations, your generation stations. So these all then contribute towards sorry, these all then contribute towards an these all then contributes towards a combination of patterns which are known as gray structure. So that gray structure will be definitely, because the progress and your development, it needs some sort of interventions when we mix these two, green and gray, to provide an ecologically sustainable or ecologically viable pattern for the city. Now, let's get into a little bit of detail about the green infrastructure. We talk about trees. Trees are not only one. Trees are only one component. We have urban forests. We can have some areas where we can maintain some wildlife habitats, preservation of riverside corridors, or the water courses. Of course, all of the cities, they will not have river corridors, but most of them, they will have some water courses running around or running inside some streams or maybe some coastal regions, and some natural filtration systems. what are those natural filter systems that are very important aspects in the modern ecology when we talk about the sustainability. So urban wetlands or the regions or the areas where we allow rainwater or runoff water to go back or to filtrate back in the rhizosphere or in the soil. And that is an important aspect when we are facing some drought or when we are addressing the hydrology problem. Looking forward, if we categorize the green infrastructure networks, they are categorized in three main points. One are known as hubs, the other one is a link, and the third one that is site. Link is usually an open space which is together to function as an ecological setup. Because there are certain hubs, small areas, which can be totally gray or which can be totally green or which can be a combination of both. So these hubs are then sometimes they are connected with some corridors or some links that is necessary to maintain the sensitivity of your habitat in regarding fauna, flora, and especially the fauna species, because the wildlife they will, if they will be having separated or small clusters, their survival will be more difficult and they will be prone to more urban difficulties. But if you can develop or you can build links in between different hubs or sites to allow a little bit of migration, movement, and like a fabric or like an interconnected links, then you can achieve your goals towards in a better way towards the environmental amelioration or towards the sustainability. These interconnected networks, they mainly consist of wetlands, woodlands, waterways, wildlife habitats, parks, greenways. They can be natural or they can be intervened. So we can build them or we can develop some sanctuary of already present natural systems in there. And there may be some other open spaces, even in some areas when your dumps or sumps, they are nearby the city vicinity or the swamps, they are also included in the network or in the sites where we need to work for the ecological sustainability. What benefits green infrastructure? Some things are very common which you people have been listening from a lot of time. But in terms of ecological perspective, we don't only focus on temperature change or humidity or microclimate but we focus on a bigger picture that the green infrastructure that can help you to improve the air quality on a sustainable basis, on a year-round basis, not only when there is a rain or you can see the blue sky, but when you have a green, well-knitted green fabric, you have a capacity in your system to maintain the air quality, or your green system is strong enough to filter or absorb a lot of pollutants which we are releasing on the daily basis. Then the air quality that will be sustainable and improved, and you people will be able to look up the blue skies on the daily basis. Then the microclimate modification, small parks, areas, hubs, union parks, they are all contributing towards the microclimate modifications. Or if you are managing your water courses along with a lot of vegetation, then these patterns they can enhance. For the people living in Rawalpindi and Islamabad or Twin Cities, it is very easy for them to experience that difference. When you move from Rawalpindi to Islamabad, a steady gradient of 1 or 2 degrees centigrade that is visible once you cross the Faizabad interchange. And even when you go a little bit deeper and you pass through some of the avenues which are still left with the previous vegetation or the natural vegetation, you can feel that temperature drop to 5 degrees centigrade on a summer day. So that drop or that microclimatic modification, that is what we can achieve with the well-knitted green infrastructure or a fabric. That is one aspect. And along with that, the stormwater management. These things, they have a very prominent role in the stormwater management. The problems we have faced during this monsoon season, they will never occur if we put a little bit effort on the networking or the fabric making regarding the green corridors in our cities. Then enriched habitat and biodiversity. That's, of course, when there are trees, then you can see a lot of squirrels running around and some birds chirping, and these things, they look pleasing, or they sound pleasing to everybody. And especially, it's a source of knowledge for the children. It's a source of entertainment for them. When they go to a park and they can run towards a crow, or they can run behind a squirrel, what they are learning by that few steps, or what sort of cognitive abilities they are getting by that simple activity, that has no match with any of your gray fabric playhouses or well-built game houses. And then definitely recreational and transportational opportunities, they are another possibility. Um, we need a lot of recreation and space to go into different regions, or sorry, to when the urban routine or your exhaustive routines, then definitely we need some recreational opportunities. And when there is less time available for everybody to move to the city skirts or to the other regions, then these green fabrics or these possible green networks, they can help to provide recreational opportunities to the city dwellers on their space or within their space. Moving forward, I will just give you a brief pictorial view of some of the types of green infrastructure. That starts from a small flowering pot which you put in your balcony or on your rooftop, and it goes towards a well-structured tree-lined park or a natural river running or flowing aside the city, or a waterway or a stream running between a residential colony. So there are a lot of things we can build and we can develop, and with the human intervention, all these things, they can be networked to get the maximum benefit. In this picture, you can see a rushy road alongside with some buildings. It's just a depiction that how the things they can come up. In here, on the left side, this is where a rooftop can drip some water, and we can put a lot of vegetation as a rain garden. Similarly, the bigger trees, they are used to improve the air quality, and some open area that is left, which can help to rejuvenate or reconcile the water levels in the soil. And then we develop some swales. Now, swales are some depressions or a low-lying area in the ground where a runoff water from the road or from the surroundings, it can gather for some time and get absorbed in the soil. When we develop swales, we try to make them more porous by putting or by adding some sort of porous materials, or developing a media that can help the water percolate in the soil rapidly. And similarly, there are some possibilities of aesthetics or developing a thick urban tree cover. The things, they are coming up in pictures onwards as well. The downspout disconnection. These are actually parnalas or drainage pipes, which are present on every roof, and they take stormwater or rainwater down to the ground. Rather than putting them direct to the sewer hole, we just develop some disconnections, and they are left open in an area where the water can seep down or where water can percolate in the soil. You can see in this picture that there is a small pocket developed with the help of some mulching material in the water, that rather than running down towards the sewage pipe, it will be absorbed on the spot, and it will help to keep your urban water levels on a stable side. Then similar rainwater harvesting, the rooftops there, the water is then gathered in some drums or in some tanks, from where it can be used for the washing purpose, for the gardening purpose, and a lot of other commercial aspects. Now this picture, it has some sort of rain garden, that is a depression area alongside the or you can say it's a sunken corridor alongside a road. The runoff water from the road or from the surrounding area, it will come down. It will develop like a small wetland. For the time being, the water will be absorbed, and there will be less pressure on your sewage system, and there will be lot less pressure of the pollutants to go down to the main water bodies or streams. We can build some planter boxes that help to retain water and then slowly seep down in the case of rain. And the biospheres, as I discussed earlier, the biospheres are the areas with some depression and with a lot of vegetation and a lot of ability to absorb the water and put it in the groundwater system. And we try to put a lot of vegetation over there to get the maximum benefit, to absorb the pollutants or to work to let them work as phytoremediation plants. Next to that, there are possibilities of putting permeable pavements, which will stop the runoff water, the rainwater. Still, you will have a good walkway, but the rainwater or the stormwater that can be concluded over there. The parking areas, they can be built with the help of, rather than putting sheds or gray stretches, we can build them with the help of trees, and they could be a good open space with a lot of opportunities for green waste. Green alleys alongside the roads or alongside the walkways, they can help to give a better feel or a better microclimate to the pedestrians or the nearby built structures. Similarly, the modern concepts or the concepts which are now nowadays getting its popularity in the landscape community, these are the rooftops. So rather than leaving your rooftops barren or as a heat sunk or developing a lot of small scale heat islands in the urban environment, you are putting them with some green structure. You can put some plants or even pots or grasses, or that is a whole subject we can talk about sometime as a green roof in the urban ecosystem. Similarly, the tree canopies, your atmospheric clarification and uh, the problems in the second layer of your atmosphere, that can be addressed with developing those land conservation techniques or urban tree canopies. When we discuss all these things, there is a very strong aspect, that is urban forestry, because developing a corridor, developing a green network on a natural pattern, that needs a lot of forestation. And urban forestry, that is a well thought branch of landscape or ecology or forestry, which has a lot of importance in your sustainable system. So the ecosystems which comprise, and especially the forestry aspects or the urban forestry aspects, they focus uh, towards the native species rather than going towards the exotic, because our urban landscapes, they had a lot of capacity to absorb hundreds and hundreds of exotics and we people love to put them for the aesthetic purposes. But when the green network or urban forestry or these terms, they come in practice, then we focus towards the towards our native plants, native trees, and a well-planned programmatic approach that is needed when some campaigns that our government is running, like Billion Tree Tsunami or some other names in the same way. So if these things, they can be well planned or in a programmatic way, then we can definitely achieve a lot of goals towards the sustainability of our cities. Here I am putting, because what we thought about benefits, that's always towards the quantitative fabric, but we have a lot of things which can be obtained, or which the trees or green infrastructure or urban forestry or urban ecology that can render to the communities. The one is the provisioning. They provide a lot of goods, including food, fresh water, wood, pulps, medicines. You can harvest a lot of things from the trees. Along with that, there are benefits to the ecosystem, like regulatory benefits. They can regulate the climate. They can control towards the water purification system. They can give you a lot of pollination or tree growth opportunities, and then on top of that, erosion control. And there are some intangible benefits which we usually don't see, and we take these things as for granted aspects. These intangible benefits, they include tourism, a well-structured city. People like to visit, like Islamabad. People, they came just to visit Islamabad due to its beauty, due to the presence of some features, or being a capital of this country. The people, they come across the world or from other cities or from other provinces just for the tourism purpose. So these tourism hubs, they can be developed in any model city. If you take a small village as a model village and make it in a well-knitted fabric, and get your word to the people, they can come and add towards tourism opportunities. Then recreation, definitely the appreciation factor. If you are putting some efforts in your properties or around side, then appreciation, and that appreciation not only in terms of words, that sometimes that appreciation in terms of money matters as well. Spirituality, that is another factor. You can feel tranquil or spiritually in a good mood, or lighter feel when you are in the natural environment. So putting nature in the urban or in the gray structure, that can help you to improve the spiritual connections with the nature. And definitely there are support to the habitat, ecological functions like habitat for the species. The trees, they are not only the trees, but they help to develop a lot of other vegetation underneath them. Some grasses, some herbs, some weeds, or maybe some fungi or mushrooms. So the tree, when you are planting a tree, it means you are not only putting one tree in there, you are actually going to develop a habitat, or you are going to put a micro ecosystem if you let it grow in the natural fabric. And with on top of that, it can be a nesting site for a lot of birds. It can be a nesting site for some rodents like squirrels, or it can be a resting place for some bigger birds like kites or vultures or species. So these things habitat for the species and maintaining the genetic health. And there is a possibility of developing a lot of species in a small area, or you are giving food, shelter, and water possibilities to many of the fauna and flora species. Then definitely you are maintaining a genetic diversity. And if you look up or if you study a natural system, it's always very diverse. So Diversity is a feature which can make artificial environments successful. That's a routine thing. I put this picture just to get an idea how what are the benefits from the urban fabrics, green fabrics to a single individual. So these all things are almost discussed before. So we will go forward. Now, the urban ecosystem management. That is, it's a diverse. We focus. One are the green spaces, and other one are the blue spaces. Green spaces include parks, urban forests, cemeteries, vacant lots, gardens, yards, campus areas, or your landfills. Now, there is an important term, cemeteries. These cemeteries, they are always a source of urban biodiversity because they are the places which are less touched by the development, very less touched. So if you are going to get an idea about the previous vegetation pattern of any well-developed urban city, we visit the cemeteries and look up the tree inventory over there, that what sort of trees or what sort of shrubs or vegetation is growing there, because that's the place which is very less touched in terms of its biodiversity over the period of many years. Similarly, the blue spaces that include streams, lakes, ponds, any sort of artificial water bodies and water retention ponds. If you are going to build some wetlands, these two fabrics, green and blue, that's what we focus when we talk about the ecosystem management in urban areas. And we try to connect these two fabrics with our gray spaces. Gray spaces include all of your build structures. So if we can make a combination of green, gray, and blue and interconnect with them with each other, that's how we can efficiently manage our ecosystem. So in this picture, I have tried to put some of the features which are present or which can be affected or which have a critical role in decision making regarding urban ecosystem management. The biodiversity and natural features, that's all what we just talked about. The ecosystem services, the benefits by the trees, by the urban agriculture or any community programs or water supplies, and on top of that, the education purpose, the knowledge which is given in sense of local, daily, or everyday observation for the children, for the elderly, or for the students as well. And then a lot of ecological hazards in which the flooding, the sea levels, wildfires, vegetation mortality. So these things, they play a critical role when we decide or when we make decisions regarding urban ecosystem management. We take an account for all of these possibilities, and we design our fabric in a way that we can reduce or we can minimize the hazard or any sort of ecological hazard for that particular area. That will be changing from space to space, from city to city. And the pollution, the foremost patron that is pollution. So sorry, I was just looking at some of messages. If there is something important one. The pollution is the main factor which we talk about, which we discuss a lot, but we ignore some other possibilities or some other opportunities in this regard. Soil contamination, urban heat islands, the toxic gases or the emitted gases which we throw in our atmosphere, water pollution, noise pollution, environmental littering. These all things, they can be seriously managed with the help of proper protocoled urban ecosystem management. I think I'm almost going to end this presentation for today, and that we need a systematic approach whenever it is necessary. We need to observe, we need to monitor, we need to evaluate, we need to prioritize, and then we are going to take action. So just a campaign, a word, an effort without any direction, that will be fatal, or that will not give you the required goals which we need to accomplish. So prioritization and then taking action, that is how we can move forward towards a systematic approach. The decisions are always critical, and we need a very careful management. That's all from my side. If there are any questions or anybody need to involve in a discussion, I'm open for that. And I will request to Dr. Azam to please convene the rest of the session. Dr. Azam, please. So I'm done with my presentation. If you can please open up your mic and any questions. Questions are allowed.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for sparing your time. It was a wonderful talk. Now we have a Q&A session. If any person have a question, please, or you can write in the chat room, or you can raise your hand. I think there is no question, and this all talk is being recorded, and it will be uploaded on our DS YouTube channel. If any student who have missed this talk can access from our YouTube channel. Thank you, Dr. Umar Habib, for sparing your time. And thank you for the participants. And our next talk will be on the 21st October. It is about the poultry diseases. Interested research students and the faculty member may spare their time to join that talk. Thank you all the people to be with us in this session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you very much.